Yeah, the opening statement is I think just first and foremost want to acknowledge our region and our area of Western North Carolina and the impact that we've had from Hurricane Helene, and also want to thank everybody that's reached out, but also want to thank all the first responders, all the people
Right, it is cold, bro.
working to help restore and recover our area. There's a lot of positives going on from a lot of people, donations, but like I said, a lot of workers that are helping with power, with internet, with water and things like that. And so again, thank you and to all those that have helped out. Here we are, basketball season again. Expect this to be another competitive, season, another, high level competition in the Sun Belt, which I think is, one of the premier leagues in America.
All right. Well,
They might have just. Did they freeze?
You want to check your phone if they reached out to you? Here they're back on.
Adam, you want to go ahead with your question?
Yeah, sorry, I got kicked out really quick there, but yeah, Coach Kerns, I guess just opening up, could you guys won the league last year in the regular season, but a lot different of a roster that you have this year. But you did bring back Miles and CJ, two preseason all preseason picks in the league. Can you talk about their leadership and what that's going to mean for your team as you mold and kind of bring in a new group of players and you have a new team this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I think that I feel like that, maybe outside of Arkansas State, who return a lot. I think there's many of us that have new teams, a lot of new rosters. I think there was a total of 83 transfers in the Sun Belt, so that 5 or 6 a team there. And so certainly having CJ and Miles, back is very big for us. CJ going on his 5th year in our program, certainly being preseason all conference player. Miles Tate going in year 2 with us, had a great year last year, and obviously another 5th year guy. And so having those guys back is very important for us on many levels, from leadership to just their character. They're high character people, and so just having your leadership core group in your program being hard workers and great people, I think, is good for any program. And so, expecting those guys to have big years.
We'll jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Looking at your schedule, that road game at Wisconsin really kind of stands out. What are you looking to see from your team out of that game, and how do you feel like that can prepare you for a lot of the tough road games that you have down in the Sun Belt Conference slate?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to coach talk you. Like, our focus right now is obviously on Miami of Ohio, a very good team in our Sun Belt MAC Challenge, which I think has been great for our conference. I haven't really given much thought about the Wisconsin game, other than I know that it's going to be it's a high profile program in a great conference in front of a hostile environment. I know the Kohl Center is a tremendous place to home atmosphere and play, but I haven't given it much thought out of that, and that's not coach talk. That's the truth. It's just obviously our focus is on game 1 with Miami, Ohio, and just kind of go from there. How we would give ourselves a chance with Wisconsin is take care of getting ourselves prepared for Miami of Ohio and the other game after that.
Let's go back over to Adam.
Hey, Coach. Last year, defense was, and it has been in years past, a pedigree of your program. Do you anticipate a lot of that being the same despite your different personnel this year?
Yeah, I think we've had different personnel before. In 5 years here, we've been able to be top 3 in the league defensively with different rosters, and so certainly that's got to be, I think, an identity of our program. I think that if you want to win on the road in the Sun Belt, if you want to win on the road in college basketball, you've got to be good defensively. And so something that, we really try to make that part of our identity. But we also understand how important that is to win and compete in games. And so expect no different from this group.
Great. Coach Kerns, thank you for the time today. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think me coming from the North Carolina area, Western North Carolina, being impacted by the storms, I think, my first thing I did was reach out to Dustin, to check out how they were doing. So we sent our prayers and, to everybody's been affected by the weather as of late, right? And our program, we always talk about, the gratitude and the blessings to be able to play the game. We're really focused on our process, and knowing where we want to be. And we want to be one of the top programs in this league. And, but it does take steps to be able to get there. And we're trying to right now make sure our guys understand what the culture needs to feel like and sound like every single day, making sure that we're playing relentlessly. The effort is there and we're competing and we're building a family type atmosphere that we like to call our power unit.
All right, we'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. We'll kick it ocu with Adam.
Invited a couple of our, should we center it a little bit more?
Coach Gray, obviously year one for you at Coastal Carolina. Your team's well into practice now. What kind of team do you expect to have this year? Do you guys see yourself as more of an offensive integrated program or defense, both sides, and just what you've seen from the team so far that really has you excited about this group?
Yeah, I think, in order to win, you need to have a culture that wins first. And that's something that we're really focused on. But we'll be a defensive program. I know that points score and they are flashy, but to be able to win, you got to be able to stop someone at some point. And we're just implementing our game plans and our sort of principles. Guys have been buying into that. Offensively, we'll like to play in transition when the opportunities do, arise themselves. But no doubt about it, we'll be a defensive program.
All right, we'll jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Looking at the roster, no true freshmen, 5 grad students. Was that on purpose recruiting wise? And what do you look to get out of, a heavily upperclassmen team?
Yeah, I think that was something that, when you get a job and you're hiring a staff, you're trying to put something together, you want to put people out there that have been in it before. And then for us to sort of try to figure out the league a little bit. But we like older players, being able to have some guys that have been in some battles, that have played in some big games, that have won and been on teams that have won as well, I think is important. And then trying to bring along the younger guys and then try to win some of these recruiting battles that we in with the other really good teams in the league with.
Follow-up question from Billy.
Yeah, Coach, you just kind of hit the nail on the head right in my follow-up question. You talk about scheduling, been in those environments. You start the season off Western Michigan, East Carolina, NC State. What are you expecting to see out of your group? And then how do you feel like that can set you up for the rest of the season?
What we want is growth, right? What we started here in June with our guys, we're not there anymore. We're a couple steps ahead, and I think throughout the season, that's what we really, really want to be playing our best basketball when we get into January and February. And our schedule was challenging, and being able to, the rigorous travel and the really, really good players and coaching that we'll face every single day in our league. And I think the early part of our schedule does that for us.
Let's go back over to Adam.
Coach, one of the players that remained committed to the program and even through the coaching transition, Braden McVicker, he really kind of came on at the end of last year. How do you see him fitting into your system? As he's a great mismatch with some outside ability at his 6'11" height.
Yeah, I think Braden, and Henry both, when you get a coaching change, and those guys have embraced us, and being able to have a different style of coaching, a different brand of basketball. But for us, he's like a freshman all over again a little bit, right? Because the terminology is all different. The system is all different. And he's been really, really good at trying to, figure out his way here and figure out where he fits in and then buying into the program. And I think that's the number one thing we try to get the guys that we're returning. Like, are you going to buy into what we're doing? Our vision for what we want to do as a program. And both of those guys have done just that.
All right, Coach. Great. Thank you for the time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Stay blessed. Chance up.
Yes, absolutely. Excited to be going in here in year two, obviously at Georgia Southern. Honored to be at, a great place like Georgia Southern. I really feel that people make the place, and I'm blessed to be surrounded by great people. Obviously going into year two, the Sun Belt is really an ascending league. I had appreciation for it at this time last year, but then you go through year one and you obviously live the life and your appreciation grows for it. So, it's a very deep league. It's a very balanced league. It's just the nature of playing the teams on our side twice and then having to travel to play the teams on the other half. It just it creates a really unique challenge, and we're really excited about it. We've had a great summer. We were fortunate enough to go on a foreign tour, which to the Dominican Republic, which afforded us 10 additional practices. So we feel like we've been going at it pretty good here for a large portion of the off season. So it was a great summer. Obviously fall, and then going into week 4 of official practice. We're excited to get going. Excited to obviously have a couple scrimmage looks here these next couple weekends, and then obviously get started with the MAC challenge. So we feel like we got a really good nucleus, a good blend. Obviously 5 returners that all played significant roles for us last year, with 5 additional, transfers, 4 from the portal, 1 from junior college, and then 3 freshmen. So, the time we're afforded because of foreign tour really kind of gave us, I thought, a jump start on blending our returners, with the new guys. So, that's really all it is, just excitement to get things going. I'll open it up for any questions.
We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you. Our first questions will come from Shane Metlin.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously you guys had some struggles early in the season last year and then played pretty well in conference play. How much do you think, like, just having a year under your belt and, like you said, getting some of those extra practices this summer, things like that, how does that help you kind of like get off to a quicker start this time around?
Yeah, for sure. You worded it a nice way. Our start was miserable. It's nice to have that MAC challenge game at home, because we got great fans and we're excited to play in front of them. But multitude of reasons. You play your first 7 games away from home last year. You kind of deal with injury to a guy like Eugene Brown, where you really don't get him back for conference play, and then obviously other stuff, and then plenty of stuff that I screwed up as a first year head coach, and you learn from and get better from. But I do feel like we're going to be much better equipped to look more like we looked at the end of last year, earlier in the season. So I did feel like by the time conference rolled around that we got to playing our brand of basketball, especially on the offensive end, sharing the ball, taking efficient shots, playing together. I do think you're going to see that here pretty quickly. And then obviously the big challenge for us is we want to be much improved from a defensive standpoint. We feel like we've added pieces that'll help us on that end, but defense and rebounding, that always travels, and that's gonna, that's what we want to hang our hat on to give us a chance to win each night. Whether some nights your offense is going to be a little bit dictated on shots, shots you make. We want to take efficient shots, but sometimes you miss those shots. Now you got to go get some extra possessions, but we feel like defense and rebounding will give us a chance to win even on the days maybe we don't shoot as well. So.
Yeah, and I guess to follow up, I know you signed Micah Smith this year, pretty high level recruit. Is he a guy who's going to be able to help you right away this season?
He is for sure. He's, again, I think one of our strengths should be obviously, our ability to play, to depth, and to play different lineups. And he's definitely a guy that factors in there, as you said. I mean, he's a really talented high school prospect. Not only that, he's just got great, great foundational things from a competitive standpoint and a maturity. So he's definitely going to factor in. He's had a good, was limited a little bit in the summertime, obviously recovering from his high school senior season. But he's been full go since we got back in the fall, and he's really strung together some good days.
Okay, thank you.
Next questions will come from Adam.
Coach Henry, you kind of touched on it a little bit in your opening statement, but that foreign tour you were able to take with your team, obviously you guys got to do a lot of things, be together as a team, but what are some things you learned about your team during that trip, maybe on the court?
For sure. You do them for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, the basketball being one. Also, the life experience. For us, that was the first time a lot of our guys had left the country. The nature of college basketball. You're going to have roster turnover each year, so those guys being able to spend time together, and kind of form those bonds that develop as teammates. That was a big deal. But what I learned from a basketball standpoint is we got a really competitive group. The practices leading into it were very competitive, guys, and it was in a healthy way too. Obviously you want practices to be spirited and competitive, but you also want to be able to, put your hand in the huddle at the end and walk off as teammates. And we definitely had that. It's a tough balance to strike, but I felt like we had it, and it's kind of continued on in the fall. So I would say what I learned most about our group was it's a very competitive group.
Let's kick it over to Billy.
Hey, Coach, you kind of touched on this a little bit throughout a couple of answers and in your opening statement. But what is one of the most important things that you think, knowledge-wise, that you have now going through last year about the Sun Belt Conference and what this league represents and what that schedule is like?
You obviously, there's some new coaches in the league, so you'll have to obviously have to learn them. And but I do think you gain from going against really good coaches, and then you have a better understanding of how they're looking to play the game, win the game. So I think as much as anything, obviously you could talk, travel, the rhythm of the schedule, the fact that there is a time where you have to go on the road and play, 4 games in a row when you got, your back-to-back trips. So, all that for sure. I mean, it's definitely a whole appreciation for every aspect of it. But for me, I think it's learning, the teams we're going against, and how they want to attack us. How maybe things we can do against them, things they did against us that gave us trouble. So with, again, while there is a few new coaches, there's obviously a lot of continuity as well. I think it's learning the teams and the styles you're going to go against.
Thanks, Coach Henry. Appreciate the time today.
Absolutely. See you guys.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, man. We're just getting off the practice floor. Our guys are putting in a lot of great work. Just excited to be with you guys again. I hate that we're not able to see each other in person, but you know what? We got to do what we got to do sometimes.
All right, we'll open up now for questions for our media on the call. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. Our first questions will come from Adam.
Hey, Coach Hayes. You know, a little bit of a different team again this year, but you were able to. You have a preseason all-conference selection. You have Antonieri. He's you know, really one of the more established guards in the league. But what kind of leadership is he going to provide for your team that's going to, you know, really help you guys get off to a good start and be really competitive come March?
I tell you what, Tenari is he's probably in the best shape of his life, both from a mental standpoint and physical standpoint. He's a guy that has taken the reins of the leadership of this team, and I couldn't be more proud of him. And him having some history in the league, history with our program, history with me, and I think it has helped. We do have a lot of new guys, but him being able to be who he is, as productive as he has been, to be as vocal as he's been, it's kind of helped with the transition with all the new guys. So I couldn't be more proud of him. Again, he's in the best shape of his life, both physically and mentally.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Adam.
Yeah, it goes to follow up, sort of changing gears, but your non-conference schedule, you guys have, you know, quite a few daunting tasks on there from SEC teams, but also some other teams throughout the area. What are the, you know, what are you kind of looking for your team in that non-conference slate to get ready for the conference schedule that starts in late December now?
Well, number one, knowing how tough our league is, how our league is continually getting tougher. We got great coaches, great players. The one objective that we had among many, but the main objective, we wanted to challenge our guys. I feel good about the roster we've put together, but I wanted to challenge our guys from an adversity standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, different styles of play. I think that, you know, our non-league, we had to challenge our guys in a lot of different areas, mentally and physically. So we can be prepared for this gauntlet that we begin getting ready to enter ourselves into in December 21st.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. You kind of hit on it, and I think that's a very important aspect, is setting your team up for success down the road. Talk a little bit about, you know, in your experience with the Sun Belt, what you've kind of learned about that physicality, about the scheduling, and where your team has to be going into the conference slate.
Well, one thing we learned last year, Billy, to be honest with you, is that we didn't have a lot of depth. To use a football term, we lost the trenches. We lost in the football, you got to lose the line of scrimmage. Well, we lost the blocks. We lost the paint. And so we didn't have enough big guys. And I love the guys we had on our roster last year, but we didn't have the depth nor we had the size. And when you look at our league, some of the better teams, they got size. They got front court size. Of course, they have skill on the perimeter. But you got to be able to hold down the fort on the paint. And I thought we've done that. And again, just going to our schedule, we have got to be prepared from a physical standpoint before we get to our league to be able to withstand that. Because this league is no cakewalk and there's no pushover from 1 to 14. We're going to have competitive basketball night in and night out. There are no days off. So I wanted our guys to be prepared from a physical standpoint on that regard. And that, hence the reason we put our roster together the way we did and our schedule.
And just kind of following up on that, you know, we mentioned your all conference selection, but, you know, without giving away too much, who are maybe a couple guys that you're really expecting to develop and really contribute this year?
Well, you know what, the jury's still out on a lot of our guys. Tenari is the one guy who has proven that he can hit a shot consistently at Georgia State. When the popcorn, you can smell the popcorn, you can smell your hot dogs, and you got people walking all throughout the stands. And you know, you got Zarik Nutter who has done his deal at Northern Illinois. We're bringing him into the fold. But you know, the jury is still out. Who can you be when the lights are on is what I'm challenging my guys now. And so I see a lot of great things in our prep leading up into the first game. But who are you when adversity hits and when the lights come on?
Let's go back over to Adam.
Coach
I like
Hayes,
that question, Adam. You're elite question giver.
well, I try not to make them too difficult. Yeah, no, my question is, you know, you guys were 5th in the league in scoring last year. You guys were also really good defensively, especially top 5 in the league defending the 3. you guys were very athletic. Do you see that as something you guys will be able to do again this year with the personnel you have?
Yeah, I think we're gonna be a little bit more of that. I think we have a little more depth that we'll be able to sustain that from start to finish. But again, I'm challenging our guys like never before, and that's the hope that we'll be able to sustain that level to be able to impact outcomes of games.
Great. Thanks, Coach Hayes. We appreciate the time today.
Anytime. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, excited to be on here. Wish we could be in person with you guys and get a chance to meet everybody face to face, but excited to talk about our team. Really looking forward to just seeing how our team performs. We have 12 new players, high expectations, but we have a phenomenal group of young men and a brand new schedule that's going to be extremely challenging for us. And so excited to see just how well this team gels and how quickly that can happen, especially in preparation for extremely competitive league play as we get into the Sun Belt.
All right, we'll open up for questions. And once again, for our media on the call, please raise your hand and we'll call on you to ask those questions. Our first questions will come from Mike Barber.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
Doing terrific. How are you?
Excellent. And I'll be honest, we don't look all that good in person, so you're not really missing out on anything. I'm curious, aside from obviously the three guys that you know very well because they came with you, what's the process for a coach of getting to know his players both on and off the court? And I'm curious, do you go back and watch a lot of film from where they played last season, or do you try to clean slate it with what you see in the gym?
Yeah, those are two great questions there. I think the process is a lot of time. I think we pride ourselves on spending more time with our players and spending more time together as a team than anyone that we know of. And so we spend a lot of time with our players, having a lot of discussion, not just in a team setting, but in an individual setting, and getting to know them as people, and really trying to mentor them outside of basketball. And that's a big part of our mission and what we do, and a big part of our process of bringing these guys together as a team is them being able to build great respect for each other and for what we do as a program. To answer your question about the film, yeah, that's a great question. We obviously watch a good amount of these guys in the evaluation process, and even further once we get them here, to just have a familiarity, right? What are their strengths? How were they used at their last game, at their last school? What things were good, what things weren't good. And then there's even a process of sitting down and kind of watching some of the stuff with those guys, right? There's a self-evaluation that comes from, hey, let's sit down and watch, the way that you were used last year. What was good, what wasn't good? How does that fit into what we're doing? Because it's not a one-size-fits-all type of coaching, and it's got to be very specifically tailored to each and every guy. So that's a great question, because it is something that we absolutely do, especially with so many new players.
And I mentioned that the three guys that obviously you should have a pretty good handle on because they came with you. What's their value in terms of I don't know, explaining your culture, of being maybe a resource for the new players to say, hey, this is what coach likes, this is what he doesn't like?
Well, it's extremely valuable, just because everything is so new to everyone, right? How we practice, our terminology, the cultural things, as you mentioned. And so if you've got a couple guys who can jump out there and demonstrate not necessarily just the skill that you're working on or whatever, or the drill or whatever that may be, but how to respond, right? The effort level that we go with, how to compete every single day. And so, being able to bring those guys here was incredibly valuable, because it certainly gave us a great starting point as we were shifting and building the culture here with so many new players.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Shane Metlin.
Yeah, Preston, obviously you spent a lot of time, building your roster and you learning it and everything. Like, how much have you been able to dive into like the rest of the conference and start, or when did that process begin to kind of try to learn the rest of this league?
Yeah, honestly, it hasn't really hasn't even begun yet, to be honest with you. I just think once you get into the season, there are just such a small number of days that you can really focus on yourself. And so prior to the season, we try to spend as much time as we can just working on ourselves, trying to figure out what's the best way for this team to play. And then once we get to, into the season, whether it's non-conference and certainly the Sun Belt games, we'll start to take what we do and what we do well, and then we'll tailor that towards our opponents. But we're really big on scouting. It's a huge part of our success and what we do. But just right now, the timeline hasn't matched up for us to be able to do that. We've got too much work to do and too much focus to give to our team to just get to where we need to be successful without having to worry about someone else at the moment.
Are there any other coaches in the league that you were already familiar with or knew or friends with or anything at this point?
Yeah, most all of them, had a familiarity with or knew or had a relationship. Some of them I've competed with, some of them we'd recruited against. And so just a ton of respect for all the guys, who are in our league. I know, Dustin is an unbelievable coach, so much respect for him. And we've had a great relationship over the years. I think we view the game very similarly, and we've recruited against one another. Richie, Riley, and I go way back, being Kentucky guys, and but really all the guys I've got a great familiarity with and tons of respect for. So looking forward to competing with everybody in the league.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go back over to Mike.
Yeah, Coach, just one follow-up, kind of what I was asking before about too. In terms of the guys who are new for you but are transfers, how has their film and your research matched what you ended up getting in the gym? In other words, did you watch something and think, hey, this guy can do this, but maybe a little weak here, and you get in the gym? And I'm curious how close those evaluations match reality.
Another great question. You're spot on with it. I would say they were pretty close. All the guys, it's more than just the film, right? When we're going through the evaluation process, it's a lot of conversations with them. Oftentimes their parents, the previous coaches, and just different people, who may have a relationship with them or have input with them. And so we're combining all of those things. But I think our staff did a phenomenal job of really, diving in and getting to know the people, not just the players that are in our locker room. And I think we hit on all those guys and in our evaluation of both their personalities and their abilities as players. And it's pretty consistent with what we thought.
And we talked when you were hired about, your style, the way you want to play basketball. Obviously, you need to tinker things to who you have, as you kind of referenced earlier. How spot on with what you want to do you think you can be with this group, and how much of maybe a hybrid will it be year one for you?
Well, this is going to be very different than any team that we've had. I think just number one, from a depth and an experience standpoint, the last few years, we've had some really good teams, but I think our depth has probably limited us to about a 6.5, 7-man rotation. I do think we've got the ability to play a few more guys this year. So what does that mean for your team? It means you've got to tweak your style, right? You've got to say, if we have this many guys who are worthy of playing and having meaningful minutes and roles on our team, then we have to certainly accommodate that with how we play on both sides of the ball. And we've been able to do that. Again, credit our staff so much for really diving in and figuring out, okay, what's going to work well for this team. And then all of us collectively come together with, some systems to kind of implement those things and kind of put this team in position to, play to their strengths. And part of the strengths is having some good depth that we haven't, exactly had in my time as a head coach. So excited to see how that translates to a different style.
Good stuff. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Let's kick it over to Adam.
Coach Spradlin, you guys, you have Xavier Brown, who stayed with the program, and you brought in Mark, and you have these players that have experience winning and winning championships. James Madison, won the tournament last year in this league and won an NCAA tournament game. How important do you think it is to have players that have championship experience on your roster?
It's extremely important. We call it championship DNA, and it's very important. I think, in the recruiting process, we really try to target guys who win, and have that experience in winning. More often than not, that happens through the high school ranks. But when you are, combing through the portal and recruiting guys, oftentimes they're transferring because they didn't win, right? So then you're looking for different traits that we've been able to see amongst our teams. And so when you can have the guys that have that championship DNA, they have that experience, they know what it takes day in and day out. They know what it's like to be picked at the top of the league in the preseason poll like we are right now. They know what that means to get everybody's best shot. Then it can be infectious. It's contagious amongst your team. And so you want those guys. You want those guys that want to come here and get picked near the top of the league because they know what the expectation is and they know how to sustain that and how to deliver on it. And so having guys like that are extremely important. You look at a guy like Eddie Ricks, that won 26 games and played on the NCAA tournament team as a freshman. That's all he knows. He doesn't know anything other then you come to work every single day and you punch your ticket to go to March Madness. And so we got to make sure that, you know, his experience is infectious and contagious amongst the rest of the team, along with a guy like Xavier, along with a guy like Mark, and so many of the other players who've experienced winning at a high level.
Thanks, Coach Spradlin. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited about this year's group. We've got a nice nucleus returning. We've added some new players that have some experience. From a depth standpoint, we should be a lot better off than where we were last year, and especially the way we finished the year last year. And we're ready to go. We had an unfortunate injury last week with Hosanna Katinge, and we're trying to move forward now and accept the challenges that are in front of us.
All right, we'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. Our first question will come from Dan McDonald.
Morning, Coach. With the injury to Hosanna, and I know last year toward the end of the year, your offense a lot went through the low post. Do you have to change your basically your whole offensive philosophy now?
Not our total philosophy, Dan, but it's a good point. We immediately got together when he got hurt, and before we even knew it was final. Staff met. We worked on different things and that we could do and play without him, offensively and defensively. But a lot of our offense did run through him. He's such a good passer and ball handler that we'd be crazy not to do that. So now we're going to have to tweak it a little bit. We'll use some of the same core philosophy, Dan, but we will have some different ideas and offensive actions moving forward.
And if I could ask one more, you have an awful lot of new guys, and I saw one of your assistants a few weeks ago, and he said that you could be even more athletic than last year. The question was chemistry, and if these guys can work together. How has that progressed so far in your individual workouts?
Oh, it's been really good, Dan. And this summer we were able to get out on the court a little bit and see what the new guys could do. There's no doubt we're more athletic. We're going to be better defensively than we were a year ago, and that'll stay the same, even losing Hosanna a little bit. He was such a good voice for us, and he talked. He was our anchor on the defensive side of the basketball. But we're athletic, and the team's connected. We feel good about our group. That's something we've really put a lot of time in, is for our locker room to be solid, and we feel like it's been really solid the last few years, and certainly this group going forward, they want to win. We've got some new players, and everybody's goal is to win.
Let's go over to Kevin Foote. Hey, Kevin, you're on mute. Kevin, you're still on mute. Let's go over to Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. We'll come back to you, Kevin.
Hey, Coach. With Hosanna's injury, like how much of this is more about like an opportunity to see what guys are going to be able to step up, especially with some of the younger guys that you have on your roster?
We don't want to look at it like that, Jamarcus, certainly, but you're right. We've got a couple of guys who are going to have to step up, and they were doing a good job for us and going to play anyway. We're certainly excited about Jeremiah Evans. He's got a bright future. Long, can move, block shots, rebound, score the ball, and feel good about where he is. Kyron Ratliff's played the best that he's played since he's been on campus. He's now a third-year sophomore. He's done a really good job for us, and Zeke Cook, Kendall Davis, a couple of newcomers have also played very well for us.
All right, let's try that again with Kevin.
Coach, without Hosanna, is it fair to say that y'all defensive strategy or rebounding game plan will be largely unchanged? It's just the offensive side, or do you think it extends much further where y'all going to have to make some changes in the other areas as well?
A little bit in both areas, Kevin, but mainly offensively. Defensively, we'll play the same way even without him. We feel like we're much improved defensively over last year. We had some guys that weren't as mobile and athletic as this group, and we feel like we're going to have a really good defensive ball club.
In terms of guys like Jeremiah and obviously we saw Kyron, but Zeke and Kendall and the other guys that could be part of a rebounding inside group, which one of them would you say are more offensive players, and which one of them would their defense and rebounding kind of be their strength? What have you seen so far?
Kyron's probably more of an offensive player, although he's rebounding the ball much better. Zeke can score the ball. You know, he had 17 and 10 at Georgetown last year in limited minutes. He's more of a rebounder, defender than a scorer. He's not going to jump up and score a ton of points every night. That's not his game. And another guy that you didn't mention, Mustafa, has done a great job for us and has been our leading rebounder in practice over the last week. So we're excited about him as well.
Coach, what about Chancellor White? I know he was injured, and a lot of people kind of out of sight, out of mind. But he was highly thought of. And what have you seen from him, and what can he bring?
Chancellor's coming off a year that he didn't play. Right, last year we just went through this a year ago with him, and he worked hard. His body's in good shape, Kevin. He lost weight and has improved his defensive movement. And had a good summer and a good fall. And his first competition actually was this past Saturday. We had a scrimmage, and that's the first time he's played outside competition in a year and a half. But we're high on Chancellor. He would have been in our rotation last year as a sophomore, and he certainly will be this year as a third-year sophomore.
Coach, when you look at things from the point guard position, obviously you're not trying to set a lineup or name a starter or anything like that. But you got a guy and, Christian Wright, who has a lot of Power 5 experience, and then Mike Thomas that has a lot of experience on your team. What is it about those guys as individuals that you like that will, lead to you being able to pick one of those guys that's your starting point guard?
Well, we'll use both for sure, Jamarcus, just like we have in the past. On the championship team a couple of years ago, we used Fulks and Mike Thomas extensively, and both contributed to winning. So I like Christian Wright, his athleticism, his defensive ability. He can shoot the ball. He's really shot the ball well. He and Mike are going to have to step it up and score the experience. We feel like improved our depth, improved our lineup at the point guard position over last year.
All right. Thanks, Coach Marlin. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Our team is excited to get the season going. We've got 14 players on our team, 10 of which were in our program last year. So we've got a lot of experience returning. Of those 10 guys, 6 of them played double-figure minutes last year, and really excited about them. You can tell in practice we're much farther along because of their experience. And then, we think we picked up some guys that can help us in some areas that we were hurting last year. And our team looks like we want it to look right now. We feel good about them.
All right, we'll open it up now for questions. For our media, please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. First, we'll go to Dan McDonald.
Morning, Keith. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You touched on what I wanted to ask you about. You have probably as many returnees as anybody, not just in this league, but maybe across this part of the country. Is that sort of becoming a dying thing?
No question. You're not going to have it very often, probably in this day and age. No question about that. So we feel fortunate to have that many returners. And, as I mentioned, about 6 of those 10 guys played a lot last year. Now, they weren't the leading scorers, but, guys that averaged 9, 8, 7 points. And it's kind of their turn, kind of like the old days where you had guys coming up through the system. And then all of a sudden they hit their junior and senior year and it's their turn. And that's kind of what we got going on. You take guys like, Tyrese Watson, Jalen Bolden, Jacob Wilson, Jerry Ningapo, Makai Willis, AD, all these guys played last year and didn't average double figures, but had double figure games and at times played real well for us. So it's kind of their team now. And it's nice to see in practice, they're taking ownership of it. And, I think we're going to have I think we could be the surprise team in the league. I really do.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Kevin, do you have a question there? All right, let's jump over to Adam.
Hey, Coach. Last year you guys were top half of the league in assists, also top half of the league in taking the ball away and steals. Sort of, do you kind of see that as being two attributes that your team could probably do again this year, just with some of the returners and knowing how you guys set up offensively and defensively?
I think that's shown a lot already in our practices, and that this is a veteran crew that did some good things last year. The thing that hurt us the most last year was our 3-point shooting. It wasn't. I think we finished last in the league in 3-point shooting, and it's a shame because that team did a lot of good things otherwise. And you mentioned a couple of them, and so we think that we've added a couple players that can help us this year from the 3-point line. They've shot it well in practice. Coty Young, a transfer from Jackson State, has shot it really, really well from the 3-point line. A foreign kid, stretch 4 kid, Raynor Sandors from Latvia, a stretch 4 type guy, has come in and practice and shot the ball really well from the 3-point line. So, as you mentioned, if we can continue to do some of the good things we did last year and add some 3-point shooting along the way, better than last year, then we got a chance to surprise a lot of people. I believe that.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Adam.
Hey, Coach, and going into some of these returning players that you have, Jalen Bolden's kind of one that stands out to me. He really hit some spurts last year where he might have been the best player on the floor for you for a few weeks, just in terms of his ability to score, rebound, and sort of set the pace on the court. What have you seen from him in terms of development this year, and what can you expect from him? Well,
He's one of those guys I was talking about that's really taken ownership. He's come through our system, and he's a junior now. And you're right, he had some good games last year. He's a great rebounder from a guard position, and his offensive game is he's more confident. It's getting better and better. He's going to be one of our leading scorers, and we think he's going to have a really good year, and really, really high, on Jalen. And when you talk about returners, another one, Tyrese Watson, a young man who was in and out of the starting lineup last year a little bit, had some really good games. Wasn't consistent necessarily scoring, but had some big games. And he's been an interesting guy for us in that we're actually been working with him at the point guard position the last couple of weeks. And, he's quick and he's long and he's got good skill and it looks really good. And so guys like Jalen and Tyrese Watson and, Jacob Wilson and Coty Young, this kid from Jackson State, I think we're going to have really good wings. We got a chance to, maybe our starting lineup could be from 6'3" to 6'10". So it'll be better than, maybe we have been size-wise in the past, and an athletic team that can defend and do some things we did last year, but a better offensive team. That's the real key for us, is that the last couple of years we either, one year, a couple of years ago, I think we led the league in 3-point shooting and was last in 2-point field goal percentage. And last year was just the opposite. So I think this year we'll have a combination and a better balance scoring in and out with this veteran group.
Thanks, Coach Richard. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, guys. We're excited. We're looking forward to another year in the Sun Belt, our third go around. We've added a lot of new faces. We were able to keep, obviously, Obina and Nate. Nate was named preseason first team, and Obina was second team. So that's a good starting place.
All right, for our media, we'll open up now for questions. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. We'll go over to Adam to start it off.
Coach Jackson, you kind of just alluded to it with some of your veteran returners and some of the better players in the league. But your relationship with the team, taking over as the head coach of this program, what kind of molding has that been able to do in terms of chemistry for the program, even through a transition? And how is that sort of, you felt like, been a sort of comfort for some of your returning players, especially?
Good question, Adam. I think my being here, I've been here 7 years now. Coach D'Antoni gave me a lot of freedom to kind of do a lot more than probably your average assistant. And my relationship, I recruited Obene, I recruited Nate Martin as well from Texas State, Wyatt Fricks. Ryan Nutter, just to name a few. So I've had a pretty good relationship with those guys. And then we bring in a Michael Dawson, who I've known for years. He's a Huntington guy, Huntington kid. And then Jalen Spear, we brought in the twins, the Gibbs twins. So it's been kind of a easy transition in that sense. It's been fun kind of putting these guys together and seeing how they mode on and off the court.
Let's go over to Brian Burton.
Coach, how you doing, man? Congratulations again. Good to see you in that seat. Having an off season and being able to really prepare with your group, along with being able to recruit. Tell us a little bit about just how that's been for you, and what are you most excited about with this new team?
What's going on, Brian? How you doing, man?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you, man.
It's been fun. It's been really fun. Like I said, man, these guys are all quality young men, which is very important to us when we're out there on the recruiting trail. Obviously, we have to get talented basketball players, but quality young men with character is very important to us. And we feel like we brought in a good nucleus of those guys, guys that can do multiple things on the basketball court, hard workers, high character, high IQ guys. So it's been fun.
And then follow-up question, what's the exciting part about what do you look at for your philosophy offensively, defensively? Will it be more of the same? Will you kind of tweak some things? What are you kind of looking forward to when it comes to your kind of overall coaching philosophy?
Offensively, it'll be similar to Coach D'Antoni's. We want to get up and down the floor. We want to score points. Defensively, we want to be a little bit more physical than we have been in the past. So we're spending a ton of time on creating that mindset of just being more physical. The Sun Belt obviously is a physical, aggressive league, and we're trying to adapt and kind of bring that part of the game out in this team.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Let's go back over to Adam.
Coach, you mentioned doing some things that were sort of the same last year with some tweaks, especially defensively, but you're losing two elite three-point shooters in this league, and Kevon and Camden. So do you see anyone on your team that's going to be able to maybe fill those roles and replicate that production, or is it going to be a sort of a different style of offensive approach in terms of three-point shooting?
Well, this team and every team is different, Adam. We have, to be honest with you, up until this point in practice, we've actually shot the three-point ball better than we did last year in practice. I mean, obviously, when you lose Camden, who can shoot from the white line and probably shoot 45% from the white line, it's a little different. But I feel this year we have multiple guys that can shoot the three. I mean, Nate Martin, he hadn't taken a three his whole college career, and he banged the three in practice the other day. So he's really worked. Obena's shooting the three a lot better. Jalen Spear, he shot the three, I believe, 38% last year. Ryan Nutter, who didn't have a great shooting year last year, shooting the ball better. So I feel overall as a team, we've added more shooting than we had last year.
Thanks, Coach Jackson. Appreciate the time today.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys.
Very excited to be here. My first Sunbelt Media Day. I'm very happy to be back here at ODU in Norfolk and the 757, and extremely excited for what should be a great Sunbelt season for all of us, including Old Dominion.
We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam.
Coach Jones, how you doing? It's been your first preseason as a head coach, and here in the Sun Belt especially, but what's been your favorite part of the job so far? I've read some columns, but in terms of interacting with your team, what's been the most rewarding part and your favorite part?
Honestly, just the fact that everything is so new, and that we're doing this journey together. Me being an ODU alum, I know what it was like when I was here. I know the energy of this area. I know the makeup of our community. And just to be able to tell those stories from back then, but also relate them to what is the year 2024 is pretty cool. I do have, and we do have a group of young men that I think understand the history of this place. And, we know that there's a standard that we have to live up to. And we're excited about the opportunity to do that.
Let's go over to Bryan Burton.
Coach, congratulations again on the new opportunity. Welcome back home. I guess tell us a little bit about what has it been like being back home and even recruiting players to come to your alma mater. Tell us a little bit about what that looks like and also what the couple of things that you hope to establish this first year with ODU basketball.
I think that the main thing being back home and truly getting to establish something here at a place that I love so much. No offense to the coaches that are coaching at places that they are not alums of, but my love for this place, I hope comes out in my coaching and in our preparation. This is a special place to me. It means the world to me. And I just want to make these people here proud. The couple things have been just the being back home, seeing, we have a fan base that is loyal, that hasn't gone anywhere. So a lot of the people that I run into here in the city are people that rooted for me when I played here. So that's pretty cool. Surrounding myself with a bunch of men that I truly believe we're all pulling in the same direction and we all have the same goals. And honestly, we're honored to be tasked with, putting ODU back where, we believe it belongs and, competing in the Sun Belt every single season.
Thank you, Coach.
Let's go over to Mark Davis.
Hey, Coach. Just wondering, you're integrating so many new faces on the players' side and the coaching staff and everything like that, and trying to get things jumped off here. Is that progression happening as quickly as you would like, as you guys are now, just a few weeks away from tipping off?
We have our good days and bad ones. I think every coach would say that. There's some days where everything seems seamless, and I'm just like, man, I can't believe we're so far, ahead of schedule. And then other days I'm just like, man, we've got a lot of work to do. So, but such is a season. I'm sure we'll play games in November where I feel like, hey, like this is the way it's supposed to look. And then I'm sure we'll be in January and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like I feel like we're still in November. So I understand how difficult the game of basketball is, and I understand how difficult our league will be. So just preparing every single day and being able to adjust when those hiccups and speed bumps come, and keeping our unit together is the most important thing, because obviously when it comes down to it, everybody wants to be playing their best basketball in late February and that weekend in March. So, everything is building up towards that.
And the second part of my question would be, is there anything that surprised you've been around the high school game, the college game, and everything in between? Has there anything that's surprised you so far about the college head coaching responsibility that maybe you weren't expecting?
Well, to be honest with you, and I say this jokingly, but I am serious. I don't have to teach a class. So, my days at DeMatha, I could prepare for practice, but at some point in time during the day, I had to go to a classroom and teach, 18 to 22 young men. So it's pretty cool not having to do that, even though I love teaching. But it's pretty cool to be just focused on the overall young man that we're coaching, but then also, I get to lock in on the hooping part, the basketball part.
Thank you, Coach.
Let's go over to Shane Metlin.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously, when you take the job, a lot of what you're doing to start out with is, learning your own program, getting your roster put together and everything. Have you ever reached a point where you start looking around the league and start familiarizing yourself with the other teams, other coaches and their rosters and everything? Have you gotten there yet?
Absolutely. We had, when we got here, we broke our off season down into 3 segments of the first 30 days, the first 90 days, and then the last 90 days. And in that first 90 days, we did the best job we could to break down every Sun Belt Conference team, the way their coaches play, the players that they brought in, the players that they were returning. So some of that's a little easier for the rosters that didn't have as much turnover, but just like I'm sure people preparing for us, there is so much of the unknown because there are new faces everywhere. So we did do the best job we could, but obviously, we don't have to play a Sun Belt opponent until December 21st. So we do get to see them play quite a few times before the Sun Belt season heats up. So we have a base foundation for where we are with everybody, and we'll just add to that as we get closer.
Did anything jump out to you or surprise you when you started really looking at the league, whether it's the style the teams play or any individuals that kind of surprised you?
I wouldn't say surprise. The league is tough. Some very, very, very good coaches in this league, and I think one of the cool things is the different styles. Like, not everybody plays the same way. You can look at some other conferences, like the Big Ten is known for the physicality and the post play, and the SEC is known for the athleticism and the pace of play. And you've got other conferences that are known for different things. The Sun Belt, I think, has a little bit of everything. So it does provide a different challenge for each team every single night. The coolness, if you want to look at it, because I do choose to be positive, the turnaround from a Thursday to Saturday, the one-day prep for a Saturday game, planning ahead for those things are going to be incredibly important. And again, the teams that do it better are the teams that are going to have more success.
All right, thank you.
Let's go over to David.
Hey, Mike. David Hall. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm curious as to whether you have started to formulate a rotation, even a starting five, or are you that far along yet?
We're locking in on that. The good thing, I think, quite a few guys that are competing for those starting spots. So I think we're pretty locked in at a couple of them because of the performance of the young men. But there is, I think, fierce competitions going on at 2 or 3 of our spots, and it's good to see. We want to be deep. We want to play, 2 guys at every position every single game. So guys are going to play. They know that, but obviously competing for their starting spot is. I relish in that. I want all of our teams to have that daily competition.
We got time for one more from Mark Davis.
Coach, you have so many new faces on the team. I guess, well, a lot of people are new, including your staff, but I'm wondering how key those returning guys have been, who were here before to helping everybody kind of gel.
So no disrespect to them. Everything's new to everybody. So, I have a senior point guard in Emo Essien who, he kind of like his freshman year with me because he doesn't know my style of play. He doesn't know the way I coach. So they have been able to provide a lot of leadership just because of their experience, and especially their experience here in Norfolk. But other than that, like, we're all going through this together. We're all learning each other. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that's something that we can grow together. We are going through all of these experiences and we're learning each other. And I think it's brought our team closer faster than maybe would have happened if you had 4 guys telling everybody what to do and how to do it. So the fact that we've grown and going through this together, I think will be something that we can kind of hold on to as to, whatever success we have this season. It's one of the reasons why.
Thanks, Coach Jones. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk about our team. Excited about the year. This league it's truly a gauntlet. When you got 14 teams in this league, great coaches, great players, it's really tough. And at the end of it all, we only get one team in the NCAA tournament, so that makes it incredibly tough. But this is my 7th year at South Alabama. I'm honored to coach in this league. I'm so thankful to be the coach at South Alabama. I love it here. And the group of young men that we have, I'm excited for them to compete in this league. They've been a joy to coach. They've came to work every day. We have a great mix of returners that have played meaningful minutes and some new guys that have played meaningful minutes at other places and won a lot of games. So excited about the season, excited to compete. And again, thankful to coach in such a great conference.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. We'll start off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Richie.
when you're bringing in so many new guys, I know the last couple of years you guys have struggled early in the season and then started playing good basketball in February and into March. How do you integrate those guys a little faster to where you don't get yourself in such a big hole early in the season?
Great to see you, brother. That's a great question. It's hard because every season now with the transfer portal, the NIL, the way that it is, and everybody dealing with their own battles with those things, you get a new team a lot of times. And I miss the days that you had carryover and you coach guys for 4 years. You got to watch them grow. We have a few of those guys on our team that have been here 3 years, so I'm thankful for that. I hope that helps us, with Judah Brown and Julian Margrave and Elijah Ormiston, those guys that have been around here. I'm hopeful that they can help, lead some of these new guys into non-con play. And the one thing we've done with this team when we went out and recruit them, we're obviously limited with what we can do, the way the landscape is in recruiting. I don't have the luxury or, to have 5 SEC transfers like I used to. But we went out and got guys that have a chip on their shoulder. They're tougher. The maturity level's good. They've won where they were at lower levels. J.J. Wheat won a national championship at Freed Hardeman at the NAI level. Dylan Faciaro, top 20 team at Damon, made it to the Sweet 16 in the Division II tournament. A lot of these guys have won where they were at. So they do have more of an urgency than what we had a year ago, I feel like right now. Now, you don't know till you play somebody else. I'm not one of these guys that's going to come in and just, pump sunshine the whole time. I try to be as honest as I can. I think you know that, Craig. But I do feel like this team is operating at a much higher urgency level than we've operated at in a long time. And we tried to do that in recruiting, and I'm proud of how our guys are doing that. But we want to get up to a better start. You're right. Our teams, I think a calling card with our team is we get better as the year goes on. I think that's been consistent every year that I've been here. But we need to play better early, and that's going to be a challenge. We got some tough road games. We do have a lot at home, though. We got to be able to hold home in the non-con. And I think all that's important to gaining momentum headed into, when you get into a tough Sun Belt slate.
One other thing, you mentioned a couple of guys, but the new guys, which of those do you expect to really take major roles, at least to start the season?
You know what? We've had more depth. I feel like we have more depth than we've had maybe, I don't know, maybe in the last 5 years, I guess, 4 years. And we don't have the names on our roster like we used to have, guys that average 9, 10 in SEC play that, are on some of these preseason all-conference teams. We have a bunch of guys that, play together. They're about winning. They no egos, and some of that's refreshing. Out of the new guys, you got Jaden Cooper, who came in from Faulkner, has been really impressive. He was a freshman there, freshman of the year, the NAI level. I've been proud of how much, just progression he's had since he's been here. You got Barry Dunning coming in, who, you look at what he's done at Arkansas and UAB, and obviously that's not going to jump off the page, but he's came in here. He had a great summer. He's a guy I think is going to take a major jump in his game. I really believe that. And then Dylan Faciaro is another kid from Damon, D2 kid. He's proven that, I think he's ready to be a guy that, potential double-figure scorer for us, does a lot of winning things. And then our other 2 NAI guards, Miles Corey and J.J. Wheat. I think our backcourt with this team, it's really important that they play well. And all of them are new guys. We don't have any returners in the backcourt. So all those guys are new guys. So it's going to be a jump for them, but they're going to be thrown in the fire right away, and they got to respond. And I think those new guys will respond the right way.
Last thing, Maxwell Land, what's his status right now?
It's hard coming back off a knee, and he's practiced some. He's battling. It's uncertain if what he's going to be able to do early. And but it's not because lack of work. I mean, I've never seen a kid approach an injury with the positivity that he has and the work ethic that he's had to try to get back. So that's a work in progress. But I've been so proud of his attitude and how he's approached it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Let's jump over to Shane.
Yeah, Richie, Preston Spradlin was on here earlier. He mentioned that of the coaches in the league, you're one that he knows best, going back to the Kentucky roots and everything. Can you kind of tell us about your relationship with him, how long you've known each other and gotten to know each other and everything?
Me and P go way back. What a great dude he is, man. I really value our friendship. We've known each other since, he was finishing his career at Alice Lloyd and I was coaching at Pikeville College. We're over in the mountains of Kentucky, and he always wanted to coach, and and you could tell that when he was a player. He had great basketball IQ. You could tell he wanted to coach. And I always love guys' journeys. The fact that he's from Kentucky, from the same area basically that I'm from, I root for those guys. But I always loved coaches that, had to go out and earn everything that they've got. And I feel like in my career, I've had to do that. I started at the lower levels and worked my way up, was assistant for a long time. And he's done the same thing. I mean, nobody's ever given him anything, and he's just fought and he scrapped, and, he won like crazy at Moorhead. He's an incredible ball coach. And then he gets an opportunity at JMU, which is a great job. It's an incredible job. And he deserves that. I think in our profession, a lot of times, there's guys that get opportunities that I'm not sure that they necessarily deserve. He deserves that opportunity. He went out there and earned that. We actually got married on the same day. I don't know if he said that on here, but we got married on the same day, which is kind of crazy. His wife and my wife showed up there getting their nails done in the same. We got married on the same day in the same town, basically, which is really unique. But just a really good friend. I got so much respect for him, and I'm really thankful for our friendship. It's good to see Kentucky guys doing well.
Yeah, and this kind of goes along with some of the guys you mentioned earlier, but you two, you and Preston, maybe have had as much success as anybody finding those non-D1 players in the transfer portal and having success, making them, all conference type players in your league. What goes into being able to, find the right guys who maybe, aren't playing on TV or wherever, like, that are easy to see?
That's a great question. I've had some really good ones. I'd like to have one like Riley Minix, like he had. I think he's with the Spurs right now. I'd like to have one of those jokers. He was unbelievable for him at Moorhead last year. I watched them play a lot again. We're really good friends, so I try to follow his games when I could. But what with me anyway, I have an incredible respect for NAI basketball, Division II basketball, Division III basketball. So I follow those levels. I love hoops, so I follow those levels. I coached at all those levels other than Division III. And so there's players everywhere. Like, we're in a climate now where there's so many guys, because high school recruiting is just not what it used to be. A lot of those guys end up, years ago, they might have signed a mid-major scholarship somewhere. And instead they didn't get anything. They go play Division II basketball somewhere, and, they go average 20 or have a great year, whatever it may be. And, we're in a situation here where we have to explore all levels. And I take a lot of pride in recruiting all levels because I am one of those guys. I tell my guys that every day. I'm one of you guys. Like, nobody thought I would be a Division I coach and assistant, much less a head coach. And a lot of our guys that transferred from that level, people never thought they'd play Division I basketball, but they went out and earned the opportunity. That wasn't given to them. They earned that. And, so we got a lot of guys that are like me, but evaluating is key. I think you got to, as a coach, you got to decide what you feel like translates into your program, what translates to this level of basketball. And the fact that guys are at an NAI school or Division II program doesn't mean they don't have skills and intangible things that are going to translate to the Sun Belt Conference. So I'm a believer in that. And I'm not batting 1,000. I don't think anybody is, but we have had a high level of success with non-Division I transfers.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach Riley. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you, guys. Enjoyed it. TJ, I see you on there, brother. Good to see you, man.
Very, very blessed to be here. Thank y'all for your coverage of Sun Belt basketball. Great league. incredibly balanced, great coaches. I think the league is really poised to make a step nationally. I would really love to see us get to where a 2 or 3 bid league like I think we deserve. And it's certainly been like that for the last couple of years since we've been in the league. But excited to get another season started, and again, very blessed to be the coach at Southern Miss. Very blessed to be coaching. Just to be honest with you, at all, being able to do this job. So anyway, look forward to answering some questions.
All right, for our media, we'll open up now for questions. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Sam Schuyler.
Hey Jay, how's it going?
Hey Sam.
Obviously this is going to be your first game pretty much as head coach since your heart attack in February coming up pretty soon here. I guess just for you, how are you feeling? How have your operations maybe changed? And will anything kind of look different on game day?
Well, first of all, Sam, thank you. And that's multiple times you've checked on me, and that means a lot. I want to thank also everyone for the thoughts and prayers. Last year, I just was very humbled and overwhelmed. As Sam mentioned, I had a heart attack early February. It forces you to put things in perspective and really kind of redirect some things. And you mentioned how things, or what I'm trying to do differently, and how things may be different moving forward. I'm trying to not be as much of a control freak, to be honest with you, in every single detail of our program. Of course, I want things done a certain way, but trying to do a lot more delegating, trying to involve my assistant coaches more. I've got a great staff. Very thankful for them, and they're very, very talented. So trying to utilize that more, as well as our support staff. But again, I don't know how much difference you'll see when we actually get out there to the game. But I think there's certainly a lot more involvement in practice and utilizing our assistant coaches better. Of course, off the floor, really directs a lot of priorities toward home and your wife and children. Of course, all of our coaches we spend a lot more time with other people's children than we do with our own. I've got a 20-month-old grandson that I really enjoyed being around. So I'm trying to do my best to make time for him. That of course, my other 2 children, that when I was coaching, I spent so much time, as I said, with other people's kids. And sometimes I miss some of their things, and I regret that, but I'm trying to make it up with my grandson. But it just forces you to change priorities, Sam. But thank you, and thank everyone for the thoughtfulness throughout the past year and continuing, to be honest with you. So I'm very blessed.
Let's go over to Adam.
Coach Ladner, you got a really veteran backcourt on this team and some depth to it too. You guys had a really balanced case with that as well last year. Obviously you lose Austin, but you still got Andre and some other returners. You got Kobe Montgomery in here with your team again this year. Just what does that mean to be able to roll that over and have that, veteran guard play for this team?
Well, of course, I think that's where it all starts. And we are blessed, all storms have a silver lining, so to speak. And we lose Neftali Alvarez last year before the season started, but he's 100% healthy. And to have him back, of course, Andre Curbelo, both are very seasoned and talented guards. And we do think that we were able to bring some other guys in, and brought a Division II guard named John Wade, really outstanding player. Christian Watson, a transfer guard from Miami, really good. But to have some veterans that are you're going to trust with the ball in their hand, their decision making makes a big difference. And it's really hard to put a value on experience, but we do have a very veteran team, and they've been a really joy to practice and to work with so far. So bullets hadn't started flying yet, and guys hadn't started sitting on the bench yet. And, so if we can stay our deal is mentally healthy and physically healthy. If we can stay mentally healthy and physically healthy, I look forward to our team. I know we've got a great league, but I look forward to the battles that are going to be every night in the Sun Belt.
Let's go back over to Sam.
And kind of on the other end of that, when you look down low at the post, you lose a Waco, but bring back Tegra and brought in a couple other transfers too. What do you just kind of see the rotation looking like right now? If you have an
Of
idea
course,
there.
still a little early. We'll start exhibition play next week, and it's going to give us an opportunity to do a lot of evaluating. Of course, the ability to play other Division I teams is huge. Of course, for charity, so to speak, but that's a great opportunity for us to really find out kind of where we are. And I always say it really clarifies all the areas that we need to work on. And you kind of in general up until that point, or I am. And but once you start playing those games, it really can fine tune what you have to work on. And you talked about down low. I think that we have the opportunity. First of all, Tegra is really improved. He worked hard on his body in the off seasons, dropped about 35 pounds, increased his strength. A lot of people maybe either didn't realize, Sam, you would remember this. He had a broken wrist from his junior college year, and he didn't have that his cast taken off till just a few days before we played Mississippi State in the exhibition game last year. Fumbled a lot of balls, didn't have the necessary strength and mobility in his arms. Would get his hands on balls, couldn't finish, hurt him on both ends of the floor. But he's really worked hard. I can't be any more prouder than him. And then of course, if we decided to go a little bit smaller, outstanding. Of course, he can play 4 or 5, and we're mostly positionless anyway. But DeAnthony Gordon, a transfer from Arkansas Little Rock, who was really has been an outstanding player for them for the last 3 years, and so we're excited about what he brings. So that's one thing that we'll decide in these exhibition games which way we want to go. But either way, both of those young men are going to play a big role. Denaje Harris returning to us after a year at Arkansas, kind of coming back home, so to speak. He's really transformed his game. Excited about what he brings to the table. And of course, that's a player that can play multiple positions as well. So anyway, I think that we're probably at our best, Sam, when we're positionless, and I think we do have a roster full of guys that are. But when we do go big, I wouldn't want to say Tegra is positionless. We also have another 7-footer that's coming off of an injury, Lee Biat. And both of those guys have played well in the fall. So I think we still got some fine tuning to do. And I think you'll see us at times with a bigger lineup. You'll see at times with a smaller lineup, and we'll play a little bit different way based on the who we have out on the floor.
Thanks, Coach Ladner. Appreciate your time today.
Thank y'all so much for covering us. Okay.
All right, you guys. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to share some time with you guys. It's been exciting all season. So now we're getting, if I'm on here with you guys, so we're getting close. So I appreciate that. Excited about this group. It's a new group. We lost 3 of our top scorers last year to the transfer portal. And so it gets us an opportunity to see who can rise to the occasion. So it should be interesting. So I think that we've done a pretty good job so far of keeping our guys in good headspace and getting them excited about the season, trying to get them focused on what's important and things that they can control. So we have a group of 6 seniors and 5 juniors. So it's a little bit of an older group, but they're going to be playing together for the first time. So I think there's going to be some level of an adjustment period, but I think once we settle in, I think we have a chance to be a pretty good team and a pretty competitive team in a gauntlet of a conference that's well coached and so many just talented players.
We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. We'll start off with Bryan Burton.
Coach, good afternoon. Always good to see you, man. Obviously, you've had a lot of success here. You've been in this league. You're familiar. But, man, these college basketball times are just changing by the year, and to lose so many good players and then you replace them with good players. What do you like about this year's group, and how are you adjusting to just a new style of college basketball and what it looks like?
Yeah, it's always good to see you, B. You know, I've followed your journey for a while. So I appreciate, the questions that you asked because I know you've been on both sides of this, so you understand it completely. But you've been knowing me for a very long time, so you know where I got my start at, and that's in AAU. So it's allowed me to kind of not take any of this personal, and I think that's the first thing you have to do. You can't focus on, guys, quote unquote, leaving you and so on and so forth. We don't own people. So that's the first thing right there. The second thing is, man, if somebody doesn't want to be here, you don't want to keep them.
Right.
There's enough good players, and you have to trust your ability to make an average player a good player, and make a good player a great player, and we trust that. Those guys didn't walk in as good as the players that they were when they left. It's a reason why they became attractive. So I'm fine with it, man. As I look at this preseason all conference list, what makes me smile is not just Tyrell Morgan, but also Nate Martin, because I know from which he's came from. So it's all good, man. It's about adjusting. It's about humbling yourself, and it's about understanding that that these young men have a right to do the things that they're allowed to do right now, and I'm perfectly fine with it.
And then on the flip side, real quick, Coach, who are you excited about that you brought in? You obviously have an older group mixed with some young guys. Who are you excited about that you brought in? Who's made a good impression on you so far?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing I have to say, man, I'm excited about Tyrell and Drew Drennan getting a chance to kind of leave on a note in which they can kind of walk out of here instead of be rolled out of here. Those guys, I want those guys to walk out of here with their head up and be proud of their opportunities that they've taken advantage of here. As far as newcomers, I'm interested to see how Talon Pope adjusts. I think he's a big, strong physical presence that's had an opportunity to be impactful at Tulane University as well as Nevada. And I think that him getting here and going to be put in the role in which we're putting him in, I think he has an opportunity to be impactful here as well. So he specifically, and then I'm excited about Mark Drone. I think Mark Drone is a type of guard that we hadn't had in a while. I think he's explosive. I think he can score from all three levels, and I think he has a pretty good basketball IQ. So those guys in particular, I'm super excited about.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. Good luck this season, man. Great to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good to see you.
Let's jump over to Zachary Martinez.
Hey, Coach. Kind of jumping on what Bryan said, Texas State finished last in three-pointers made per game last year in the Sun Belt. Is there anybody that you brought in or anybody that was on the team last year that could help make that next step beyond the arc?
Yeah, I think Mark Drone will help with that. I think if you're looking at a healthy Tyrell Morgan, I think he can certainly help with that. But also, I think that a full season of a Colton Benson is going to help with that as well. So I think if we can kind of, it's a lot of it isn't just about the shots; it's about the ability to complete a pass. So hopefully, we've gotten some willing passers. And we got some guys that can hit guys in stride and be able to make good plays. So if we can make good passes, we'll make good shots.
Jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. You kind of mentioned Drew a little bit. He really, unfortunately, he still had a presence at the tournament, and he's provided that leadership. What does somebody like him add to a program that has been on those last 2-year teams that made runs in the tournament?
Yeah, Drew's a complete selfless guy, and that's the thing. You know what he wants to do, and he wants to win. So he sacrificed his body, he sacrificed playing time, he sacrificed so many things in order to help this team win. So I'm excited because for the last year and a half, he's been telling guys what it takes, and now he gets a chance to show them what it takes. So I mean, we wouldn't be where we are without Drew Drennan. So I'm excited about him having an opportunity to be in this premier role for us.
Let's go back over to Zachary.
Hey, Coach, obviously you're not new to the league. You've been in San Marcos for a while. If you look at the conference schedule, early January, mid-February, there's these multiple slates where you're on the road in tough environments. How do you prepare your guys in order to get ready for that, being on the road so often, being the lone team in Texas?
Yeah, I think we just show them our schedule from the last 4 years. It hasn't changed much regarding us and being on the road, to be honest with you. But at the same time, man, the game of basketball is not you can't be comfortable playing the sport. So you try to put your team through controlled adversity at this point of the season, at this point of the year, so that when we get into road games and in those type of environments that we can't control the adversity, then we can adjust to it. We've been having a ton of non-conference road games here since I took over, and these guys are pretty comfortable being in those settings. So hopefully this team will take advantage of the opportunity no matter where we're playing at.
Thanks, Coach Johnson. Appreciate the time today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, we've had a good summer, great fall to start the season off. Our guys have been working extremely hard. We have a lot of guys returning. I think we're gelling together pretty well as a basketball team, and I like where we are, but I would think pretty much all 350 Division I head coaches, I think, probably like their team this point in the year. But I think our team is ahead of schedule at this point.
All right, we'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you to do that. We'll start with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Coach, you guys maybe have snuck up on some people the last couple of years, even though you went on to have successful years. Is there anything different this year with more external expectations? How do you kind of keep that from getting to you?
I don't think there's a whole lot of external expectations. I mean, if we were picked first, obviously you'd have a little bit of a target on your back. I mean, picked third, that's not our goal. Obviously, everybody's goal is to win the league. I don't think there's any more outside pressure than we would normally put on ourselves. I mean, we expect to win every game, and that's the way we approach it. And we really don't worry about external expectations because we can't control it. We just worry about the things that are within our control, and that's what we talk to our guys about every single day. And so that's kind of where our focus is just getting better every single day.
Along those lines, though, you've had a couple of good years in a row, and as much as you can in kind of the transfer portal era, do you feel like this is a team that is better set up, or at least really set up well to succeed?
Well, we have a lot of returning guys. We didn't sign any guys out of the transfer portal. There's different ways to go about doing it. Obviously, if you can return as many guys as possible, you want to do that and have continuity with your roster. But you can also, if you are able to get guys out the transfer portal, you're able to, change the outlook of your team really, really quickly. So it's a different time in college basketball. My expectation is that every team in the Sun Belt is going to be really, really good and tough, and we're going to have to bring our A game every single night. And I feel like we have enough firepower and enough toughness on the floor to win on any given night. But at the same time, if we don't bring our A game, anybody in the league can beat us.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Davis Baker.
Hey, Coach. Davis Baker, WSFA. Keeping 12 guys, you just don't see that a lot in college basketball nowadays. What do you think led to that, and just keeping the same roster together?
I think we had a little bit of good luck. I think, we had some meetings with some guys early on. I think our guys kind of sensed if we did keep everybody together, we would have a chance to be pretty good. I do think, we had some guys that probably could have went in the transfer portal and, had some pretty lucrative deals, I would imagine. Miles Rigsby, for one, who's first team preseason all conference. His brother plays here. I think he definitely wanted to see what we were capable of doing, also play another year with his brother. You have a guy like Tatum Connerway that was second team preseason all conference. I think he was just excited about the opportunity. You lose two guards that played a lot of minutes. Now he's going to have the opportunity to where he's going to be the guy. I think that kind of got him excited. Jackson Fields is one of our post players. He kind of bought into, let's keep everybody together. And we got a chance to maybe do something special here. And so I think once that kind of started going in a positive direction, they just kind of came together and all the guys stuck it out. I think it is, it's not something you can expect every year. We're not going to expect it, but we're very thankful that we had this opportunity. But, at the same time, we're not going to step on the floor and out talent anybody in the league. But hopefully our guys, the fact that they know what to expect, they know how we're going to defend, they know how each other play a little bit better after playing on the same team for at least 1 year together. I think we'll definitely be better offensively, and hopefully it'll translate to more wins.
This year, you'll get the chance to coach your son, Austin. Was that always the plan for him to come play for you? And how excited are you for that opportunity?
I don't know that it was always the plan. It was something we had talked about. He had went to prep school for a year just to get a year of experience, get a little bit physically bigger and stronger and more athletic. I think it did him well. I'm excited for it. He knows it's probably going to be harder on him, that I'm going to be harder on him than anybody else. So he's not going to get any shortcuts or anything easy. And so, but you spend so much time away from your kids. It will be, I think, kind of cool on the road trips, being on the same bus together, or, traveling and getting to eat together. So I think it is a great thing, and we are excited about it.
Let's go over to Bryan Burton.
Yeah, great question, Davis. You kind of stole mine there, Coach. I was going to ask about coaching your son. If you're taking some notes from LeBron right now and how he's handling this whole thing with his son. But no, you obviously had a ton of success there already. You've had success in the league at UTA. Is there things that feel a certain way when you have retention in a group that gives you an advantage just from a coaching standpoint, for your familiarity, for their familiarity? Does that get you excited maybe in a different way than having to build and teach everybody from scratch?
Yeah, I would say probably it gives you a little bit more, confidence, just because you know what to expect with the guys. We're not having to completely teach how we want to defend, how we want to do the little things. I mean, those things I think do take time. There are guys occasionally that are super quick learners and can pick up stuff quick, but the majority of people, it takes a little bit of time before they know how you want things done. And every single one of those guys that are returning are already pretty good at the things that we want them to do, especially defensively. And so it gives you a little bit more confidence, but at the same time, this is a extremely difficult league. And as I said before, we're going to have to play our best every single night. So, we're trying to get that across to our guys. Every day we have to get better. Every game we're going to have to bring our A game. I think whoever does that in the league is going to come out on top.
What do you think the biggest challenge for this particular group that you can see right now is? Obviously not probably chemistry, but what would you say if you had to pinpoint one challenge? You're like, okay, we got to make sure we do this well.
I would say, honestly, I would say, just making sure that, the team part of it, because, once you start playing and the stat sheets come out, everybody wants to see their name at the top of the stat sheet and wants to play the most minutes. I think we do have a lot of depth. I would say just keeping everybody on the same page and, pulling towards the same goal of winning a championship and not get caught up in, some of the external things that happen in games. I would say if we can manage that, then, I would think that we would have a very, very good season.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Good luck this year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach Cross. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, boy, you'll let any media members on these deals, huh? I'd love to lower the requirements to get a media credential, but no, obviously, really excited about our group. We got 8 returners, so thrilled about having some continuity. Obviously, something that we did not have last year. Practice has been a lot smoother through the course of the summer and fall. Being able to have those returners, being able to get a veteran who knows the Sun Belt well, obviously, and Kobe Julian, and then a good mix of transfers and freshmen to help, finalize our roster. And so, obviously we're thrilled about, the preseason predictions and projections and votes, but well aware that none of that means anything. I'm coming from Alabama, so we called that rat poison under the great Nick Saban. So our guys understand what's at stake and going from being the hunters to the hunted and making sure that our mentality does not change. And this is a great basketball league. I say it all the time. You have 14 great teams with 14 great coaches. One of the few leagues in the country, and I don't mean any disrespect to any other league with this, but there's not a gimme game in this league. There's just not. I mean, and so you look at who's picked to 10 through 14 in our league. I mean, good luck going on the road and picking up wins at those places. So really excited for this year. Looking forward to getting things started, and I think it's going to be a really good year of Sunbelt basketball.
Thanks, Coach. We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Bryan Burton.
Coach, first of all, great first name. I'm probably one of those guys you're thinking about, like, how did this guy get a media credential? But somehow I got one. But no, congratulations on the offseason. Talk a little bit about the recruiting. Obviously, that's something you've excelled in when you were up the road, just like you were just talking about Alabama. You've obviously excelled there. Is this a part of the vision, and what is the recruiting secret sauce for you to be able to attract such high-level players to Arkansas State?
Yeah, we've been fortunate in recruiting. I think that as a university, we've got a great product here. Our leadership from top to bottom, system president to chancellor to provost to athletic director. The leadership here is phenomenal, and they're bought into our vision and support us in any way they can. On top of that, there's this part of Arkansas loves basketball. You look back to the history here at Arkansas State. We have a 10,000 seat arena, and they would sell this thing out. And so we're looking towards getting back in that direction as far as attendance. You look at some of our games down the stretch last year. Our attendance numbers here in Jonesboro are not inflated. So I've seen some other places. We've played games in other places where there's like 1,500 people in the stands and they advertise 5,000. But we had a legitimate pushing 6,000 people here down the stretch for the Troy game on national television, and that was big for us. And but I think the entire the total package, community buy-in. We've got a great campus here that's heading in the right direction under the leadership of our chancellor, Dr. Todd Shields, and just the biggest thing would be style of play. And relationships. I pride myself on building relationships. People talk about the success I've had in recruiting. I try to make things more relationship based than transactional. And NIL and that space has made that more difficult. But if I don't feel great about the relationship, I'm not going to do it. And really, we want to bring young men here that want to be here, and we feel like we have a connection to, and our style of play being very similar to that of the NBA. It has been a major selling point for us. And a lot of teams and coaches say they want to play fast and they're going to shoot a bunch of threes, and they're going to play a certain way. And usually only a handful pan out to actually do that. And that's something that we do. And, it's been a great selling point.
Yeah, then quick follow-up. What are you most excited about with this group, and what do you think the biggest challenge is?
Most excited about how close they are. If you see one of them, you're going to see the other 15. And I really thought we had a great summer just as far as, leadership, camaraderie, and the word that's thrown around all the time as far as, culture. But we really are building something special here in that regard. One of the emphasis this summer was being our brother's keeper, and I think our guys took that very seriously. I think one of the biggest challenges will be finding guys playing time. If I'm just being honest, and that doesn't mean we're going to be any good. I'm not saying, but we have 15 guys that want to be on the floor and are competing for minutes every day in practice. And so, finding the right roles and identifying those roles for each guy early and building on that.
Yep. Thank you, Coach. Good luck this year.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you.
Let's go over to Jeff Reed.
Caught me off guard there. I thought Harper was ahead of me. Uh, uh, last year, obviously, you finished strong. You started 2-7. This year, the schedule looks much more favorable to maybe having a better start, more home games for one thing. Do you feel like that is something that can help this team get off to a good start?
I hope so. I mean, you say favorable. I looked last night. I think, gosh, Alabama's picked to win the SEC. We've got them second game. Akron is one of the best teams in the MAC every year, and just sent a player to the NBA. We've got them game one. Little Rock is picked to win their league. Jackson State is picked to win their league. I think we have 4 or 5 non-conference opponents. UAB picked to win their league. Memphis is picked second in that league. So yeah, we have more home games. We're not. We again have the most challenging schedule in the Sun Belt by design. Not a fan of the playing 2 and 3 non-Division I games. I don't know what that does for your program or your players. We'd rather be challenged early. I think that paid off for us down the stretch. So I would like to obviously have a better start than last year, more concerned about how we finish, obviously. But we want to put together wins. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And we want to play in front of our home fans. We were really good here last year, even when we were banged up. And so, getting those home games was big, but those home games are difficult. UT Arlington's really good. Stephen F. Austin's really good. Jackson State, again, picked to win their league. Akron is really good. I mean, it is a challenging non-conference schedule again.
Chip over to Jeremy Harper.
Hey, Coach, do you have a good summer?
Yeah. I know you had a good summer.
I know, but I know you might have lost some sleep. I know you have an infant in the house.
I do. An infant that's built like a toddler, but yes. Yeah, I have an 8-year-old son. So I probably to answer your question, 8-month-old son.
Yeah.
He thinks he's 8 years old, but best summer of my life. Get to be the head coach at Arkansas State and get to go home to my beautiful fiance and him every day, which is amazing.
So, Coach, you were talking about the returners, which we all know from what we saw last year, what they're capable of. These new guys coming in, is there anybody standing out that you would like to talk about right now?
Gosh, where do I begin? I mean, obviously, Kobe Julian, picked preseason player of the year for a reason. He's been phenomenal. He's been a great leader for us, a veteran in the league. All of them. Again, that's kind of where I've got some work ahead of me. Rashad Marshall's been really good for us in his role. Joseph Pinion's been a shot maker all summer, like we anticipated. Cody Head gives us another guard and adds some depth to that backcourt. And then our freshman, Josh Hill, has been phenomenal here in the last month or two. Justin Johnson as well. Arshawn King adds some depth and athleticism and strength to the front court. So top to bottom, as far as our newcomers, we're really excited about that total package, to be honest with you.
Can I ask a follow-up question then? I hate to jump in front of anybody, but I was wondering if you see this team having an additional strength over last year's team.
Yeah, I think we'll be a lot better defensively. Last year we battled injuries so much and we had to change so many things defensively. If we got in any sort of foul trouble, we had no depth. This year, depth is not an issue. And we added a lot of length and athleticism. So we should be a lot better defensively than we were last year.
All right, got time for 1 or 2 more from Charles here.
Leave it to Jeremy to cut in front of me. Coach, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, Charles. How are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, you were talking about playing at home, man. Just talk about what it's like playing in the combo. I call it the combo because that's where I went to school, but the bank and how the community is just like reacted to this team the past couple of years.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I put it up there. First National Bank Arena, with the crowds that we had down the stretch last year, I think rivals some of the best atmospheres in the country at this level. You know, I thought that Troy game was phenomenal. You know, we really got the excitement going here, and I really anticipated it being like that this whole year. You know, I told our guys, I'm never going to be the coach that gets on a press conference and complains about attendance. If you put a good product on the floor, people are going to come. And so it took a little while to get things back rolling. And once we started winning games, you know, this arena was rocking, and really, really looking forward to having some meaningful home games here in the non-conference and obviously in our Sun Belt schedule, and you know, getting that crowd you know, back rolling and really picking up where we left off is what I hope and anticipate. And so you know, really excited about that.
Thanks, Coach Hodgson, for your time today. Really appreciate it.
You got it. Thank y'all.